to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes, India's Prime Minister flags off the country's first indigenous green hydrogen fuel cell inland waterway vessel in the state of Tamil Nadu. Also lays the foundation stone of Outer Harbour Container Terminal at Chidambaram Port. Both Joe Biden and Donald Trump win their parties' primaries in Michigan, but with warning signs set to dog their campaigns for the November presidential face-off. India calls for the restoration of the Appellate body as the topmost priority of any reform process at the World Trade Organization's 13th Ministerial Conference. And the European Union asylum applications jump 18% in 2023 to 1.14 million. EU Asylum Agency's data shows it's the highest level since the 2015-16 migrant crisis. Well, first up, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Tuticorin in the state of Tamil Nadu today. The Prime Minister addressed a public program in Tuticorin where he laid the foundation stone of Outer Harbour Container Terminal at the Chidambaram Port. The project aims to leverage India's long coastline and favourable geographic location and strengthen India's competitiveness in global trade arena. The PM also inaugurated various other projects aimed at making the Chidambaram Port as the first green hydrogen hub port of the country. These projects include desalination plant, hydrogen production and bunkering facility apart from others. The PM launched India's first indigenous green hydrogen fuel cell inland waterway vessel under Harit Nauka initiative. Prime Minister Modi also dedicated tourist facilities in 75 lighthouses across 10 states and union territories during the program. The PM also dedicated to the nation several roads and railway projects. And addressing a gathering there, Prime Minister Modi said, Tamil Nadu is writing a new chapter of progress in Tuticorin.
बड़े दुख के साथ सत्य कड़वा होता है, लेकिन सत्य जरूरी भी होता है। मैं सीधा आरोप लगाना चाहता हूं यूपीए सरकार पर। ये सारे जो प्रोजेक्ट मैं आज लेके आया हूं, ये दशकों से यहां के लोगों की मांग थी। आज जो यहां सत्ता में बैठे हैं, वे लोग उस समय दिल्ली में बैठे थे, सरकार चलाते थे, ये डिपार्टमेंट चलाते थे, लेकिन उनको आपके विकास की परवाह नहीं थी।
Earlier, Prime Minister Modi visited an exhibition reviewing all the developmental projects in Tuticorin in the state. The Prime Minister said that Tamil Nadu is writing a new chapter of progress in Tuticorin. He added that the state will play a crucial role in India's journey of becoming a Viksit Bharat or developed India. And in Kulasegar Apattanam in Tuticorin, the Prime Minister also laid the foundation stone for ISRO's second spaceport launch complex. ISRO's chief S. Somnath, while speaking to DD India, said the advantage of the launching pad is its direct access to southward trajectories, reducing fuel consumption.
Today, Honorable Prime Minister has laid a foundation stone and we will be building this station with a lot of infrastructure for assembly of the rocket, the radars, the ground infrastructure for preparation of the rocket. This is not only meant for small satellite, that launch vehicle that ISRO has developed, but also for private companies, satellite rockets which they are going to launch, that also can be launched from there. So the whole construction activity will take approximately 2 years. So we are hoping that launches can happen maybe at the end of 2 years. So the advantage of this Kulasegara Pattanam is that we can launch the rockets directly southward, saving fuel and also increasing payload. And as many as 24 launches in a year we can happen with this location as well as rocket. So we are hoping that this will become a very important location for the country. And I understand there is also other industries or ecosystem also coming around this site. So all the best for the whole of Kulasegara Pattanam, and we are very committed to make it happen.
The Israeli army has released a video on Wednesday showing its soldiers engaged in combat in the Gaza Strip, as well as conducting airstrikes targeting Hamas militants' facilities. The footage shows airstrikes on Hamas infrastructure, anti-missile posts and operational command center. And amid the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict, a glimmer of hope emerged among the displaced civilians on both sides after U.S. President Joe Biden expressed hope that a ceasefire will take place soon, probably by Monday.
Well, I hope by the beginning of the weekend. The end of the weekend. At least my national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday we'll have a ceasefire.
Now, the Houthis have said that they would reconsider their attacks on international shipping in the Red Sea if Israel stops its operations in the Gaza Strip. Houthi spokesperson Mohammed Abdul Salam in a statement stressed that the attacks would be reassessed if Israel-Gaza conflict ended and humanitarian aid was free to enter. According to the European Union Agency for Asylum, the number of asylum seekers in Europe jumped by 18% in 2023, reaching 1.14 million. This is the highest since the migrant crisis of 2015-16, when many people from Asia and the Middle East or West Asia fled to Europe. About 4.4 million Ukrainians have fled to the European Union because of Russia's special operation in Ukraine, and they do not need to formally apply for asylum. South Korea's fertility rate, already the world's lowest, dropped to a fresh record low in 2023. According to Statistics Korea, the average number of expected babies for a South Korean woman during her reproductive life fell to 0.72 from 0.78 in 2022. Since 2018, South Korea has been the only member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that's OECD, to have a rate below 1. South Korean government in December promised to come up with extraordinary measures to tackle the situation. Amid protests and mass resignations by trainee doctors, South Korea on Wednesday asked military hospitals to fill the gaps in the health sector and provide treatment to civilian patients. South Korea's civilian hospitals are suffering disruptions in providing services to the people as thousands of trainee doctors are protesting the government's move to increase medical seats. Let's now take a look at this report that's been filed by DD India's Chris Gilbert.
Certainly mounting on Korea's health system, particularly on the front lines inside the hospitals, which are obviously facing drastic staff shortages. Now they are turning patients away. There are reports that emergency room beds are running out, that hospitals are entering what they call red alert when these beds start to become scarce, and also that nurses are now being requested to fill the shoes of doctors, to be given the legal protections or the legal entitlement to do that kind of work. There is reportedly some concern amongst this pool of nurses that they may be open or exposing themselves to legal action, to malpractice suits, which is interestingly one of the reasons why these doctors are resigning and walking out in the first place. One of their complaints is how legally vulnerable they are, as well as their pay, and the government plans to, boost 2,000 more students every year into medical schools without addressing these trainees, doctors' concerns first. Of course, these calls for better conditions, for better pay are falling on unsympathetic ears with the government at the moment. They have taken action, filed complaints against 5 doctors who are members of the doctors' lobby in Korea. They have hired a prosecutor to the health ministry to give advice, and they've effectively given an ultimatum for all doctors and trainee doctors to return to their places of employment by the end of Thursday, by the end of February. And if they do so, they will not face any punitive action. If they fail to do this, then the government says it'll be unavoidable. These doctors will potentially face having their medical licenses suspended or even facing legal action. So this is all likely to come to a head at the end of play on Thursday. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo reporting for DD India.
Britain's Prince Harry lost his legal challenge against the British government's decision to take away his police protection when he's in Britain. King Charles's youngest son, Harry, had brought the action against the government at the High Court in London after the Home Office decided in February 2020 that he would cease to automatically receive personal police security while in Britain. Germany is hosting 2 days of peace talks between Azerbaijan and Armenia in a new push to resolve a decades-long conflict between the neighboring Caucasus countries. Azerbaijan has been increasingly hostile to outside involvement in brokering an agreement, with President accusing the United States of jeopardizing relations by siding with Armenia. The offensive prompted most of the region's ethnic Armenians to flee to neighboring Armenia. Now, in Australia, tens of thousands of residents in southeast were told to evacuate on Wednesday due to an intense heat wave that authorities said could further spread a massive bushfire in Victoria State, which faces its worst conditions in 4 years. Extreme fire ratings have been issued for large parts of Victoria, with the Wimmera region in the west given a catastrophic ranking, the top warning level. Tokyo Electric Power Company and the Japanese government began the fourth discharge of radioactive treated wastewater from the wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean on Wednesday. TEPCO will discharge 7,800 tons of treated water over about 17 days. It said no abnormal tritium levels have been detected in nearby waters from the previous 3 discharges. The wastewater release first began in August last year. And still to come on DD India Live. India calls for the restoration of the Appellate body as a topmost priority for any reform process at the World Trade Organization's 13th ministerial meeting. Warning signs for both Biden and Trump in the Michigan primary despite their comfortable wins. And Ukraine, Zelensky and Albania's Rama sign a cooperation agreement in Tirana.
Curious case of Julian Assange. The future of lunar exploration. And the biggest snake discovered in the Amazon rainforests. Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. US President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump emerged victorious in the Michigan primaries held on Tuesday for their respective parties, further cementing the expectation of a rematch between the two leaders down the line. But many in Michigan's Arab American community who backed Biden in 2020 are angry, as are some progressive Democrats over Biden's support for Israel in its conflict in Gaza. Donald Trump won the state's Republican presidential primary by a large margin, strengthening his grip on the party's White House nomination as Nikki Haley. His last remaining rival came in a distant second. And Haley, on her part, took aim at Donald Trump 1 week before Colorado's presidential primary election, saying she'd be a better candidate against Joe Biden. Nikki also reminded her supporters of a recent comment by Donald Trump encouraging Russia's President Vladimir Putin to invade United States' allies.
Donald Trump got on stage, went off his teleprompter, and said that he would actually encourage Putin to invade our allies. Now think about what that means. That means Donald Trump's going to side with a tyrant who kills his political opponents. That means Donald Trump is going to side with a thug where 500,000 people have died or been wounded because of Russia invading Ukraine. That means Donald Trump is going to side with a madman who arrests American journalists and holds them hostage. Putin's made no bones about the fact that he wants to destroy America. And Donald Trump's going to choose him over our allies who stood with us after 9/11?
Shifting focus, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama in Tirana on Wednesday ahead of a security summit in the Albanian capital. The Ukraine Southeast Europe summit, that will be attended by leaders of several Western Balkan countries, will focus on defense cooperation, peace and security, among other things. This is Zelensky's first visit to Albania since the start of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. A NATO member since 2009, Albania has been a vocal supporter of Ukraine, but has largely stayed quiet in public about supplying Kyiv with arms. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said that EU should consider using profits from frozen Russian assets to buy military supplies for Ukraine. Von der Leyen previewed a new European industrial defense strategy that her Commission will present in the coming weeks.
Let me be very clear. European sovereignty will make our partnerships stronger. It will never affect the importance and the need for our NATO alliance. In fact, a more sovereign Europe, in particular on defense, is vital to strengthening NATO. It is time to start a conversation about using the windfall profits of frozen Russian assets to jointly purchase military equipment for Ukraine. There could be no stronger symbol and no greater use for that money than to make Ukraine and all of Europe a safer place to live.
Now, at the working session on dispute settlement reforms at the World Trade Organization's 13th Ministerial Conference, India emphatically called for the restoration of the Appellate body as the topmost priority of any reform process, along with effective formalization of the ongoing informal dispute settlement reform discussions among some members at the WTO. India reiterated its long-standing position that a credible and reliable WTO DS system is the bedrock of an equitable, effective, secure and predictable multilateral trading system. India emphasized that the outcome of any reform process should provide for the restoration of the Appellate body, which remains a top priority for India. As a way forward, India sought the immediate and effective formalization and multilateralization of the informal DS reform process by rectifying the procedural and substantive defects. As India and South Korea complete 51 years of diplomatic relations, the Republic of Korea ambassador to India, Chang Jae-bok, said that the two nations have enhanced their strategic ties. Negotiations for a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, or CEPA, are underway and could be finalized before the year ends.
Free trade agreement negotiations are, in general, very, very difficult to reach the agreement, because in each country there are some industries. So with the conclusion of FTA, some part of industries will have a loss, and some part of industry or some part of the economy will have some gain. So it's kind of political negotiations domestically. So it's not easy. So still, unfortunately, the issues are quite parallel. But at the last round of negotiation in January, end of January, we found some willingness to conclude negotiations within this year. So hopefully, each side will present a concession to each side, and then hopefully to reach the agreement and compromise, actually.
India's Information and Broadcasting Secretary Sanjay Jaju attended the 18th India Digital Summit in the nation's financial capital, Mumbai. While addressing the summit, Secretary Jaju highlighted that India's media and entertainment sector is a huge one and that the film segment of the sector is also growing phenomenally.
The media and the entertainment sector is a huge sector and plays a pivotal role, and it's been growing at phenomenal 20%, and it's approximately 2 lakh crores. That's the size of the media and the entertainment sector. The film segment has also been growing phenomenally. It's almost 85% growth rate, and it's reached 17,000 crores as compared to the last year, when it used to be only 9,300 crores. And the next year again you might see further increase into it, and it might become a 22,000 crore industry.
Earlier, the R&B Secretary visited the NFTC office in Mumbai and reviewed the work being carried out. He also met film industry bodies, studios, associations and discussed various issues pertaining to the film industry. The Secretary also undertook a guided tour of the National Museum of Indian Cinema. Two Indian Coast Guard ships arrived at the port of Galle in Sri Lanka for a formal visit to facilitate professional exchanges and conduct joint training exercises. This visit underscores India's commitment to maritime cooperation and highlights the importance of regional maritime security. Through joint exercises and exchanges, both the countries aim to enhance their capabilities and respond effectively to maritime challenges in the Indian Ocean region. This visit is aligned with India's Sagar Doctrine and Neighbourhood First policy. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India, that's the CAG, inaugurated the International Conference on Strengthening of Grassroots Democracy in New Delhi on Wednesday. The CAG also released a book on the occasion titled Local Governance in India, Initiatives and Opportunities, highlighting the key advancements in local governance. The conference this year is also witnessing the participation of 10 countries this time, where deliberations will be taking place between countries over the next 3 days.
This is the first kind of an initiative we have taken. We thought of in this forum, even the Reserve Bank's recent, their survey of the local government and their finances, they have pointed out that globally such platforms are not there, where the experiences can be exchanged. In the SOSI General Body meeting in Korea last year, it was felt that there is some special committee should be there for the local bodies audits. So Russia is spearheading that one. Global cooperation is in this way, that to exchange the knowledge and process it, one thing. And if we can work out some standardized methods.
Now, in a successfully coordinated operation at sea, the Indian Navy and the Narcotics Control Bureau on Tuesday seized around 3,300 kgs of drugs from a ship near Gujarat's Porbandar, making it by far the largest in terms of quantity in recent times. The seizure was possible through the collaborative efforts of the Indian Navy's mission-deployed assets with the NCB. The contraband, along with the apprehended boat and crew, have been handed over to the law enforcement agencies concerned at an Indian port. The coordinated response of the Indian Navy with the law enforcement agencies is reflective of their resolute stance against narcotics trafficking in India's maritime neighbourhood. Let's now take a look at some of the other updates from around the country today. India's Ministry of Education is beginning a campaign, Mera Pehla Vote Desh Ke Liye, or My First Vote for the Country, from Wednesday. Activities under the drive will go on till the 6th of March, with the aim to ensure universal enlightened participation of the youth in the election process. The initiative will witness both on-ground physical events and online competitions on the MyGov platform. The Indian government aims for a large voter turnout in the upcoming general elections through this program. India's Dibrugarh Airport has got upgraded navigation system for better safety. The airport has completed this setup successfully, and the calibration of a Doppler Very High Frequency Omni Range system. The installation and calibration of the DVOR at Dibrugarh Airport marks a critical milestone in enhancing navigation capabilities for incoming and outgoing flights. Let's get you some sports now. Erling Haaland rode back to his best form with a 5-goal salvo as Manchester City thumped Luton Town 6-2 at Kenilworth Road to reach the quarterfinals of the FA Cup on Tuesday. In an interesting clash, Luton had no answer to the marauding Norwegian who bagged his 8th City hat-trick before half-time and then scored twice more after the break to kill of a stirring Luton revival. The 23-year-old Haaland's first 4 goals were all created by Kevin De Bruyne. Mateo Kovacic also got on the score sheet for holders City, who are unbeaten in 18 games in all competitions. And in another match, Newcastle United squeezed through in a penalty shootout at Blackburn Rovers after the tie ended 1-1. Newcastle were given a big scare at champion strugglers Blackburn. Anthony Gordon gave them the lead at Ewood Park, but Rovers hit back with Samuel Smodics taking the game to extra time in which both sides were close to nicking it. The visitors edged through 4-3 on penalties with Blackburn captain Dominic Yem having his kick saved by Martin Dubravka. And manager Jurgen Klopp said injury-hit Liverpool need a miracle with several prominent players in doubt for Wednesday's FA Cup 5th round tie against Southampton. Midfielder Ryan Gravenberch, injured during Sunday's League Cup final victory over Chelsea, is the latest player from the Premier League leaders to be sidelined for this week's clash. Klopp said forwards Mohamed Salah and Darwin Núñez, who missed the League Cup final, are also not a certainty for Wednesday. The German credited the depth of the squad and its young talent for the way the team has performed this season, including the League Cup triumph.
So we need miracles with a few players. So that's why I don't want to rule out for too long. But it's touch and go with a lot of players still, with the boys who are not available for the weekend, for the final. This, like Darwin, Mo, Dom, we have to see what they can do today. Wataru got a proper knock as well. There we have to see as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's much improved since Sunday, but that's how it is.
And let's talk to cricket now. In the latest ICC men's players rankings among batters released on Wednesday, India's young dynamic opening batter Yashasvi Jaiswal has climbed to 12th position following his scintillating performances in the 4th test of a 5-match series against England. Jaiswal is the highest run scorer in the series so far with 655 runs in 4 matches and 8 innings at an average of over 93 with 2 double centuries and 2 50s. Player of the match through Jurel's score of 90 and 39 lifted him in fact 31 places to 69th position, and England opener Zach Crawley had entered the top 20 for the first time after scores of 42 and 60. Former England captain Joe Root is back in the top 3 of the ICC men's test batting rankings following a century in the 4th match at Ranchi. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts about the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, as well as Instagram. And for all the latest, we'll be back with all the other bulletins for the evening as well. With me, Gautam Roy, it's my entire team saying thank you for watching DD India Live, and keep watching DD India for all the latest.